same tools that I will log into last time when it's going to playtest and stream into my place. All good. It seems to be spinning up and seems to be doing a reasonable job of streaming content. Another minute or so. No users on there yet, so I'll just keep that here and chat there, and keep my Discord chat close and my enemies close. Better. Right, good enough. You know, you guys are much better at turning up to this and turning up to me talking than my students here in New Zealand are. Like I seem to be getting more, like a reasonable number of the class actually turning up in the morning, which is really nice. So hopefully I'm therefore at least being mildly interested and trying to be helpful. And we are most of the groups seem to be making some progress now, so that's really cool. I'm really happy that we're starting to see some progress being made. We are at in like 27th of October, and we have 15th of December as our deadline. So we're now looking at being 7 weeks away, 6 to 7 weeks away from submission time. So it starts to get a point where you start doing a weekly countdown to submission and start planning kind of when you're planning to do things and when you're planning to work on this project and when you're planning to study for other courses and those sort of starting to look to the end of the project now and work backwards to try and work out what you have to cut. And to some extent, that's why I wanted to try and get people slightly to a MVP and playtest today, is so that you can collect more information about what you think you might need to cut and where you need to get to get to the end of the project. Okay, so I'm streaming, I'm on Discord, and away we go. Are there any questions before I start about the playtesting stuff? Do we have groups who like have a game close enough to finished that's useful to have play content done, have playtesting done? Thumbs up in the air. Comment. Yes, there are thumbs up, there are some thumbs down, and some thumbs up, and some many thumbs up. Yay! Okay, right, that's great. Right, so we'll start with a quick discussion of playtesting, and then we'll go into looking at the individual games, working out what games are being playtested, and then get people to sign up to do those playtesting. Okay, start recording so I have a look back. Okay, great. So, playtesting is an important part of game development. There are various levels that we do playtesting at. There are focus groups where before you even have a game, you might go out to the group to try and work out, what's possible. Should we even make this kind of game? There is QA testing where you try and work out, is the game stable? There's usability testing where you're interested in, are people able to use the interface of the game and do things with the game? And then there's playtesting of the game where you're looking at, is it engaging, is it fun, right? So each of these have a different role. So if we have a look at focus groups, so the idea of a focus group is you need to start working on, is there potential audience for this game that you're making, right? So a group of potential players are interviewed about their likes and dislikes. You work out sort of something about your market area and then try and find out information about them. And you try and guess what might be some game ideas that you might have and see how they test, see what people think of them. So focus group is difficult to design and run well, but it's usually useful for deciding sort of relative priorities of kind of well-designed features. So you think of some features, you take them out, you ask people, what do you think of these things, or are you interested in this combination with this? So you're probing the market. There are some games that are made entirely from the market perspective back, which comes a wee bit into the focus group kind of approach, where you go out and you talk to a whole bunch of people who you think are underserved, and you ask them, what are they passionate about, what they play on, what their normal life activities are, what kind of other games they play, what kind of real world stuff they do, and try and sort of mash together a profile that you then can design a game for. One of the games I thought was interesting is Alto's Odyssey, which is a snowboarding game, was actually commissioned by a couple of Canadian businessmen who had no idea how to make games, but they noticed a lack of a snowboarding game, so decided they would contract somebody to make a snowboarding game. So they identified a lack in the gaming market for a section of people who wanted to play snowboarding games, but there were none. So yeah, they got finances together and then hired a British developer to actually make the snowboarding game. So that's kind of a bit like what happened with that focus group. QA testing, not much to do with enjoyment and not really about the user experience either. You're more looking for bugs, right? So this is QA testing, unit tests that you write to run on your system. You're checking clashes, you're looking for blocks that prevent progress, unknown action occurring. There was a company that in Australia that called this monkey testing, because one of the things that they did is take a controller, work out each of the signals that it's sending, and you can do this now with various Windows tools like Auto Hotkey, and then what you do is you just randomly send controller signals for hours at a time to your game and record when it crashes. Because the idea is you're just doing QA, you're just saying, how do I move around menus? How do I click on things? How do I interact with things? And you're not interested in this game's fun, or did you enjoy the experience? You're just saying, can you break it? And so there are more and more tools to kind of automatically find those holes. Usability testing is a bit closer to what we think of as game testing, and that's where you're asking your user to look at the interface between them and the game and seeing if it's easy to use, right? So we can be talking about people with different abilities, one-handed play, those sort of things. Can you hold the controller, read instructions, game events? These aren't describing whether the game is fun or not. They're just describing can you play the game? Are the UL elements intuitive? Do people use them without having to be taught? How long does it take to do a task in the game? Can users express the relationship between items? So do they understand what components in the interface do? Now, these are all things that when you're doing usability testing, have you guys done a usability testing course? I don't think we had one previously, but have you guys done a usability testing course with personas and things like that? You have done some usability. Some of you haven't done usability testing, but at least some of you have learned something about usability testing. So there's this idea that you're trying to make things easier to use. Now, interestingly, for games specifically, they have a slightly different objective to most usability testing. Most usability testing is, how do I make it easiest for my user to get from what they want to do to having that thing done, right? So if there's some sort of magic button, the best user interface for writing an essay would be a large button that says write essay. You press that and suddenly you get an essay, right? That might be considered a really good usability on an essay. Some of the lecturers would say that's terrible usability because you didn't learn anything. But if all your goal is to satisfy the user's intent, then an interface that doesn't get in their way and helps them achieve their goal is the best interface. The problem with games is that therefore the best interface would be just a game that had a button win. You'd press the button win and you'd win the game. And it's kind of, that's not really what we meant by good usability. We actually intentionally add friction, we intentionally add difficulty, including in our interface, because overcoming those difficulties is the point of the game. Right? So there's this idea that you can't make your interface perfect in game development. You're making it smooth, you're making it so it doesn't crash, you're making it do the functions it's intended to do, which aren't necessarily all that the user wants to achieve. They're what the designer has shaped the experience to be. And it shouldn't be more difficult than the designer intends, but it shouldn't be easier than the designer intends. So it's about finding that balance. So straight usability testing is different in games, where you might explicitly add friction and make things hard and different. And then we have our big friend that we're going to be playing a wee bit today, is playtesting. Playtesting is necessary. You have to playtest things no matter how much you think they might be cool. Until you put them in front of other people and see them play them, you don't know. Right? It can build confidence in the team that they're developing the right game, so this is good. It can also correct the path where you think, oh, we really thought everybody would think that was fun, but apparently, setting donkeys on fire, most people didn't enjoy. Who knew? I don't know. Maybe people do enjoy putting donkeys on fire. I don't know. I've not made a donkey fire game. But early testing, you can pinpoint problems, and there's timeful problems to be fixed, and it allows the improvement of the game experience. Right? It could cause fear in the team. Right? Fear of rejection or ridicule. However, embrace your fears. Now, this sounds like a trite thing to say, but as one of you said earlier, if your game worked perfectly, you learn nothing from the effort of playtesting. So, in fact, the bugs are what you learn from. The feedback that is negative is what teaches you how to change what you're doing and improve your game. So you shouldn't fear negative feedback. You should embrace negative feedback and say, excellent, I now have more information about how I can improve my game. All right, so ideally, and what we find with teaching is that if I give you a grade and then give you written feedback, like 90% of you will see the grade and then just completely ignore the written feedback, right? Because once you've got the grade, that's what you care about. And those of you who do read the feedback after seeing the grade are usually either thinking, wow, my grade was lower than I expected. Why did he take marks off me? So you're not trying to learn from the grade, you're trying to rules lawyer the grade to say, hey, I don't deserve to lose that many marks. If you got higher marks than you expected, you might go into the thing not thinking what I can learn from the feedback, but okay, so what did he miss? Right? So you're trying to work out, why did you get such a high grade? And if your grade was what you thought, you might go in with it. Okay, I'll just see if I can do better. So, like, only in a small band do I get people to actually read the feedback. With playtesting, we're not grading each other. Right? This is not a grading activity. You don't get grades from having people like your game or dislike your game. This is about learning, and so embrace the feedback. So some of the playtesting that you would need to, when you're setting up playtesting, is the first question you should ask yourself is, why are you doing playtesting? So for the playtesting today, the reason why we're doing playtesting is to get feedback about the current state of your game. Now you could also include some additional playtesting questions that you can think of by saying, why are we doing playtesting? So an overarching question is, we want to see the state of the game, but a detail might be, we've got like a level 1 jump, and it might be too hard. We're playtesting to see if the players can get over that first jump in level 1. Right, so that would be a very specific why for this specific playtesting. And those whys will help you generate the kind of questions you're going to ask. Also, you want to ask actionable questions, and I'll get back to that. But why are we doing playtesting? That's thinking about what you need to know about your game. Who is doing the playtesting? And that shouldn't, in this case, we're already using other people in the course. But if you were doing this playtesting company, you would want to go and find people who will buy your game and playtest with them, or playtest with their children while they are watching, right? Because to sell games, you have to sell them to people who have money. Children often don't have money, it's their parents who have money. And so you've got to actually know how the parents feel about their kids playing the game. If the parents think what the kids are doing looks good, they're more likely to buy your product for their kids. Even because, and it's harder to get the kids to like it and then have the kids nag their parents, right? So you've got to understand who and in what situation you're testing. What is the influence of the testing group? So if you are, for example, you say, well, we're just going to use the free testers. We go out there, we ask a bunch of people online, hey, who has some time to sign in the and do some free game testing for us? And you get a bunch of people who have a lot of free time and maybe not a lot of money. And so a bunch of teenage boys who love games have time but no money. If you use the influence of what those teenage boys say about your game, and as your playtesting group, they might tune your game to be fun for them, but not good for other people that you might be actually trying to sell your game to, right? So, so what is the influence of the testing group? You have to make sure your testing group and how much they should influence your decisions, having run the test, and where you will conduct the test. Now, in this case, we're doing this remotely. If I was in Norway, I would expect to be coming into campus and sitting around doing it in the lab. Ideally, you can have a user testing environment where people come in, they sit on couches, you try and replicate their home environment as much as possible and see how they interact with it in the natural environment. So, to some extent, this online testing, they're going to be using a computer, they're sitting at home, they're in their comfortable space. So online testing is usually actually pretty good, but understanding the where also helps you understand what your test means. So for the start of a play test, we generally want to be clear about what we're going to test and how we're going to measure it. Right? So if I'm saying, I want to test how long it takes them to get through level 1, right? And then that would be a clear measurement of, I'll just check the timing. If I say something like, I want to know how much they enjoy level 1 and enjoy the main boss at the end of level 1 because we're thinking of changing that boss to a different boss. And so we'll go playtesting through twice. And how are we going to measure that they liked the boss at the end of level 1? Well, you can't just ask, what do you think of the boss? So what we'll do is we'll play them through level 1 with one boss, and then we'll let them play the boss fight with a different boss, and then we'll ask them a comparison question. And this will then be a Likert scale. Did you enjoy fighting the second boss more than the first boss? And so that gives them a chance to agree. I enjoyed fighting the second boss more than the first boss. They can agree, disagree on a Likert scale. You collect some numbers and you find people prefer the second boss or second type of boss, and so that's the one you'll develop further with, right? So think, what is he going to test and how you measure that so you can ask them to get the right kind of feedback. when we're looking at connecting to a broader community, so one of the things that you do for games is try and build up a community of engaged people early in the process who are then your champions for your game. Right? So if you already have other games that you've released, don't, but you can use existing community, right? And so you can engage with your current existing game playing community, gets you feedback from your existing users, and this is how you can evaluate experienced players. So people who already know how to play games, know how to play the types of games you make, and you're testing them on do they like this new thing you're making. They're also relatively loyal, so they're probably going to generally say nice things. So how to measure the tester experience, you work with the previous games in the genre, and you test a variety of games or a variety of different game options. So you can also do things working with interviews, surveys, feedbacks, discussions, and forums, so you can collect this information in lots of different ways, right? And you're asking them to think about your experience. If we look at playtesting, this is critical feedback. I have a video here which is on YouTube, but I don't know if you guys can hear it. So I'll share the link. I'm not going to play a full 25 minutes of it anyway.
So trying to go through the consistent themes that you get and like sort of what we talk about, and then there's certain things that come up time and again.
A New Zealand game developer, and they're going.
So it tends to look at key areas.
Talks about
those things.
The usability and playtesting usability.
Control maps.
25-minute talk
which allowed you to create fairly elaborate
about a game that was a multi-mixed modal game. You know? And so they did focus groups, they did QA testing, they did usability testing, and they did playtesting. Right, so it's an example of doing all of those. And the playtesting is a bit like saying to people, one of his comments is, please tell me that I suck, right? So, and actually, it's better to some extent to get a third party to do your playtesting. Now, we're not going to do that this time around, but if you're actually going to bring in people to playtest your game, if at all possible, get someone else to playtest your game for you. Because if you are standing over someone while they're playtesting the game you made, and if you say to them proudly at the beginning of the session, I made this game and I'm really looking forward to your feedback, they're not going to generally say, wow, this game sucks, you're a terrible designer, and your code is like useless, you should just quit the degree now and leave, right? That's not how people are, right? So what you do is you get one of the other groups to be the moderator of the playtest. And then they can say to the group, okay, so today we have a game that we're testing. This isn't a game I've made, but this is a game I'm testing for other people. So be perfectly honest with me. My job is to pass on that feedback to the developer. Don't worry, I'll you can say anything like, I'll clean it up and make sure they understand what you mean. And so you then try and put people in they can speak freely mode, and then that person passes on, possibly by doing audio recording, so you get to hear everything that the people did, but with permission. But the idea is that you create an independence between you and the person playtesting, because it's hard for people to genuinely tell you to your face that your game is not good. Except online, and then once you're on Steam pages, people seem to be brutal and make horrible comments online. So, it's a swings and roundabouts to your face in person, but hey, online, even instead. And have specific questions in mind, right? And this is the general, have these specific questions. So, when we look at that standard playtesting and who does it, so who should test your game? First of all, you should all be playtesting the games that you're making, right? So you should be doing it. You should ask your friends, your mates, your colleagues to play your game. You should ask expert gamers, and you should ask fresh blood. Sometimes fresh players are called Kleenex testers, because you use them once and throw them away. They're the most expensive testing you can do because you have to recruit them, and once you've recruited them and they've played your game, you can't use them again because these are the testers who you're trying to find out what it is like to first play your game. Right? So these people have never seen your game before, may not even play games in the genre that you're trying to sell it. And so when they first spin up your game, they are getting clean, pure, oh, that's interesting. I don't know where to click. I don't know what even it means. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. So they can give you all of those instructions because as soon as they start playing your game, the Kleenex testers become dirty because they understand how the game works. So the next time they come to the game, they already know what the objective of the game is. They already know what clicking does. They already know how to move. They know all the things that you actually want to find out about, which is what the first time play is like. So generally you don't get first time players in until you've worked with all of these to get rid of the bugs. You work with your team and your friends and your expert gamers to get rid of bugs, to get rid of to smooth the entry paths out, to get things working, and then you use your really expensive one-time use testers where you get them fresh, they try the game and give you feedback on that initial perspective. And the settings, your office is probably too personal, and the lab is expensive, and there's a white coat effect where people do what anybody in a white coat tells them to do. In public, can be a bit more casual. You can get some guerrilla testing. So does the user interface people, the design people there, still do guerrilla testing, where they take a product out down into the Yuvik town and you just test on the street with random passers-by? Do they still do that? They used to do that. Maybe ethics have got to them with NTNU and they're not allowed to randomly harass people in the street about their products. But they used to have this idea of guerrilla testing. Okay, so you haven't seen that. So it's called guerrilla testing, and it is a way that you can go out and do public testing and things. It's a bit more frowned on now because the ethics of just randomly going up and forcing them to play the game. Private in their house and over the internet are closer to the normal thing. And what we're going to do is basically an internet sale for me, but you guys could come into the lab and do that style. So if we look at some of the metrics that you can collect, so certainly if you're, so we also have a human ethics committee, and you generally have to get ethics and tell people how you're collecting data, because GDPR and the research ethics in Norway say that if you are collecting data, recording people, you have to tell them how you're going to use that data, how long you're storing the data for. Right? It's the standard GDPR. Anytime a research organisation or a business is collecting and storing data about you, then there needs to be a minimum level of quality in processing and certainty around storage and transparency around use and duration of storage. So you can record data directly from the game, and you can record video of the player. Both of these, you need to tell the player what you're doing. So if you're going to record data from the game, and you'll see this when you download Android games, there's usually a little thing saying your actions in these games can be recorded and used to help improve the game. Right? So there's a kind of notification that you click on, which is one of in the whole EULA text in there, is that they're going to collect data about the game to improve the game. If you're recording video, you would generally also say, we're going to video you playing this, and the people who have access to the video is the researcher and the supervisor, and the video will be deleted 3 months after the end of the course to guarantee for recounts or re-evaluations. Right? So you give them, and that the video will be used to understand when the game is not working well for the player, right? So you specify what data you're collecting, how you're collecting it, how long, like what you're going to use it for, and how long you're going to store it. Right? So that's the general rule. You can also interrupt your game, so you can put telemetry on the game where you watch, like you get information coming out of the game and you watch the play. You can also pop up questionnaires during a game. It's a bit broken. People don't like sort of, they're playing, they're shooting at the boss, and suddenly a pop up goes, "Are you enjoying your battle with the boss?" And it's kind of, well, I was until you did pop up. All right, what are you doing? All right, so it's surveys at the end are generally okay, or in the middle, yeah, be careful. Try and make sure that there's actually a natural kind of break in the gameplay. We can also use talk aloud protocols. Talk aloud protocols are the idea that you ask your player to explain what they're thinking as they're trying to use your game. Right? So basically, that you try and turn their inner monologue into an external monologue. That can be very useful, particularly if you've got an expert player, because expert players have a lot of knowledge about games and a lot of knowledge about systems, and they're often bringing that to bear when they're testing the game. Right? So, and we can do surveys where we take pictures of the screen and we take pictures of the people playing them. And if you are going to ask people surveys and show them pictures of what happened and ask them about their responses, don't ask percentages. We actually know that percentages aren't a good way for people to express their opinion. We generally use 1 to 5 scales or 1 to 7 scales. So 1 to 7 scale is generally considered the best scale that most accurately represents people's opinions. 5 is pretty good. 10 is worse than either 7 or 5. Right? So 7's best, 5 is not as good, but is better than 10. Right? And better than 1 to 3 or better than 8 or 9. Right? So think 7 best, 5 good, 10 and basically everything else bad. Alright, so that's around the metrics and how you pick them. When we look at interviews, if you're going to interview a player, then you write a script of questions that you're going to interview the person who played the game, do it in an appropriate setting, try and ask with that third person perspective, right? Someone else asks the questions, so that's what I was referring to earlier. Memories of events fade very quickly, so if you're going to do these qualitative interviews, you've got to do them basically immediately they finish playing, and even then they'll start to get the experience. Often you do not know why something is wrong, you just might feel it's wrong, and you have to ask egoless questions that are not about you validating things like, did you like the game? Right? A did you like the game is a vanity question. Right? Because if I say no, what are you going to change about the game? And if I say yes, what are you going to change about the game? Right? You don't know. Right? That, like, just saying, did you like it, doesn't help you decide to change it in any relevant way. It might be for marketers to decide whether they're going to sell it to you or not, but you've got much better questions like, what would be the price point that you would buy this game in the store, right? And so that gives you an indication of not just how much they like it, but how much money they would be willing to part to buy it. There's a trickier way of doing that, which is you get people, and you're not at this point, but you get people to playtest your game, and then once they've finished playtesting the game, you then offer them an amount of money, and they can either keep the game or the money. Right? And that's a way of working out, at least on that binary choice, of how much it's worth to them. So, if they play your game and then you say, okay, thanks for playing my game, as a reward for coming in and doing the playtesting, you can either keep the game or we'll give you $5. Right? And if they go, I'll have the money, then your game isn't worth $5 to you. Right? So it's a kind of an indirect way of getting a more tangible value from your game, because most people will overestimate how much they will spend on something, and when it comes to actually being confronted with the money or the item, they'll often want to keep the money. Right? So you try and replicate that at the end of your playtesting. And asking questions that you might not like the answer to. Right? So this is that part of that ego list. If you think there's a weak part of the game, you think that they'll notice, you can actually ask about that because you're wanting an answer that will make you make changes, right? Or not, right? So this is where that whole focus on actionable questions. So do you prefer red or green? That is something that if more people prefer red, we're going to use the red character. Was the boss too difficult to kill? Right, so that's I'm going to change how easy it is to kill the boss. If people say it's too difficult, if they don't say it's too difficult, then we've got it about that. Okay, so it's I have an action directly associated with the playtesting question. The way we're going to do these playtests is we're going to use get issues. So this is my general advice is that you save your playtesting as issues in your Git repo. You assign a person to follow up on them and to fix whatever is commented in the playtest. And you create a playtest tag so you can see all the playtests feedback. And once you've resolved the issue, you don't just put it into the category done, you put it into the category retest. Once you've retested and it's passed, then you can put it into done, potentially, or put it into your regression testing set, which you will test once a month, or you'll test another time later on. So you kind of had this idea that a test, the solution to a test has to be tested again, and when things change in the game, you might have to go back to tests you've already run and rerun those tests. Okay, so we also have in the Git repo for IMT3603 2024 a bit of a playtesting process, potentially for building executable, send the executable to the person, ensure that you're communicating with the players in Discord. You can give short statements to the player about the specific things you want them to do or test. So you say, hey, this is the script, this is what I want you to try and do, this is what I want you to test. For each person for each person playtesting, there needs to be an observer. So when I have someone running the playtest who's helping the player and someone else observing all the interactions. So we'd expect to screen share on Discord, turn on their camera, start playing the game, talk aloud about what they're thinking as they're playing the game. So it's talking for problems that they're having, and things that they do not understand, because normally players will just avoid things they don't understand rather than say that, oh, I'm not sure what that does, or I'm not going to click that because I don't know what it does. So this is someone observing, run through these steps on Discord. What the observer does is they document the start time and names of those involved. They document the struggles the player has with the game, provide feedback to the player if asked, but do not just talk to the player through the game, right? Because you won't be there when other people play the game. So the idea is that you shouldn't need to provide instructions, and they need to work out the instructions themselves. If they need your help, then that's an indicator that your game isn't clear or your instructions aren't clear. At the end of the session, you ask questions about the gameplay and help with the development process, document any bugs and playtesting for get issues, and then these issues should be assigned to a team. Right, so that's a quick markdown under playtest MD for you to run through kind of step by step how I would generally expect this kind of remote playtesting to be done by sending them the executable. If you don't want to send the executable and you're used to using Zoom, you can turn on remote RPC, remote procedure calls in Zoom, and allow the person watching your Zoom window to take over your computer's mouse and keyboard, and Zoom will send that mouse and keyboard to the window that you're sharing from. Right? Have any of you done that with Zoom? Did you know you can do that with Zoom? Okay. So you learn something new. So, for example, if I do you guys do you have Zoom? Do you use Zoom for any other things? Do some of the lecturers use Zoom? Okay, so nobody's really using Zoom. Interesting. They're just using like the Panopto or Teams. Oh, okay. So only during COVID, everybody else just uses Teams. I wonder if Teams has a set. Teams does offer remote control functionalities for screen sharing, but it has some limitations. So Teams are allowed to state so the viewer clicks request control, and then the sharer must approve the control, and the person in control can make selections, edit modifications, and share screen. Controls taken back or relinquished at any time. Remote control only works on the shared screen or window, not on the entire device. It's not available on macOS and by default it requires additional permissions, and specific licensing may be required for full functionality. Okay, so both Teams and Zoom allow this remote procedure calls. Teams, I use it to teach. We're using Teams for our classes. Teams is awful. I don't know if they're waiting to Zoom anymore. Yeah, okay. Probably because Teams is a Microsoft product and they've linked into Microsoft products. But I know I can show you on Teams, I think. When you're in a call and when you go to share, there is a request control. There may also be some politics with Zoom. So pop up Zoom. So yeah, in Zoom, when you've got a Zoom window, you can also sign in. I think I can use. I'll sign in with my VUW because VUW is paying for full Zoom. I don't know if any new staff are also doing an SSO, but single sign-on. That's what SSO stands for. So when I share screen Zoom, there's a request control. So if you want to do remote testing, one of the options is to use Zoom. When you create a new meeting and someone has screen shared with you, you can request to take control of their screen and Zoom workspace. And so if I was to share, this is getting very meta, but not very Facebook. So if I was to share as someone viewing, you can request control. So what you can do is if I'm running the game on my machine, I open up Zoom, I share the window of the game with the third party, and they can play that game on my machine. Right? It's a bit laggy, it's a bit slow, it's not the best experience, but it means you don't have to ship them the whole game. And advanced sharing options, which are these, which say one person can share, who can share, who shares. So I think you have to explicitly request it when you're viewing to request the remote access. So you can do that, and so what you're doing is getting them to access onto your machine because you're the one running the game. You know? Otherwise, you send them the game. Control, close it down. So if you want me to take over rather than send me the game, then that's the easiest way, is to teach you something like Zoom or Teams, and then I can do remote control of your machine. This far away, it's a bit laggy, so it might be better if you send me stuff than I download. Okay, so that was going to be my summary of playtesting and some of the ideas in playtesting. Do we have so before we take a little break and come back and do some playtesting? Do we have anybody who has a game that they want to get playtested today? Which groups? If you write,
we don't.
Yep.
We don't have an executable, but we have like a good enough, at least, in Godot. Which
if it's in Godot, you can certainly share the repo and have people download and play it if you're fine with that. You don't have to have built it, or we can try some of these like Zoom or Teams for remote control and play it from the machine. What's your preference?
I think it would be easier to just share the repo.
Yep, no, sharing the repo would be good. So that's now, Jonah, what game are you working on?
Disk Runner.
Disk Runner. Okay, so Disk Runner has a game. Anyone else have something they want to show off and play? Bloomfire, you guys have something? Yep.
Okay. We can try.
We could try. So what we'll do is you guys send me I think I might have all the links here. Send me your repo link anyway. It will help me make sure I've got all the repo links I need. So if you send it to the Simon McCallum at ncnu.no, send me the repo link. I'll download the repos. I will spin them up, and we can start, and I can play them. And what we'll do is we'll do a playtest more in public, in the sense that you will run the playtest, and I will be your first example of a person doing a playtest. Right? And so we'll follow this. I'll get a copy of the executable. I'll run that. One of you will be observing and thinking about the kind of questions you want to ask me, and I will start playing the game and narrating how I'm playing. This will give hopefully all of you a chance to watch me do that, so that when you do playtesting together, potentially without me around, over the next couple of weeks, you can follow my speak about process, and you can follow the game testing process that we're going to do in the second hour of the session, if all that makes sense. Right, so I will be the playtester. I will make all the mistakes. I'll talk about it, and we'll see if that makes sense. That way you don't need to ask for remote control. That seems like a good idea. Oh, you can leave on debug messages. You don't have to turn on debug messages or anything like that. Just leave them all on as it is. I will discuss what I'm doing, and I playtest the game, and I'll try and do a couple of runs. One where I'm me as the lecturer playtesting the game, and then I might do a run where I role play being a normal player, so we can see how that goes. And certainly I've got two children here who are 13 and 15, so if you think those are part of your game targets, we can also get my children to come and playtest your game. Maybe not tonight, because it's already 10 o'clock and we're trying to start thinking about getting in closer to bedtime. But next week, if you want to test early, if you've got a 9 a.m. test you'd like to run, then I can get my kids to come in and they can do a play test with you. Or on Friday nights, which is Saturday mornings for us, or something like that, we can also test. As we get closer to the end of the course, my daughter has her exams in mid-November, and seeing we're still running in December, she can do some playtesting with you in December if you'd like to have her as a playtester. So we have some options. Okay, so send me those links. I will start the downloads for those repos, and we'll see you guys back live in 10 minutes. And you can break off into your room and stuff, or you can stay around here and come back for the playtest. Okay, so see you in 10. I've got one game that has come through so far. It's Boomfire. I need disc. This one. First, 1, 2, 3, 6, 3-4. Recode. And it seems to be doing download. Do I have describe? Here's describe. Nice, thank you. No, very good. That's not the link. So that's not the describe link. That's a link to the playtesting link. The playtesting MD that I just showed you. So do I have describe? No, I don't. So, Jonah, can you send me another link? Because that one was the wrong paste. No. Okay. Might have to download IMT3603 because I've got IMT3603 on my other machine, but not on this. Looks like we're using now I think I downloaded the .NET version because that will run both C++ code and C# code as well as GNScript code. Version that goes to C1. All of them. Yeah. Spin up. So workspace. Okay, I might change this to being 4.3 so that we don't have problems. Throwing a bunch. Exit that. So this one, the email you sent me didn't contain the correct slightly annoying because it's modified the project. Probably it's easiest to re-download it to try. Here we'll do it. So I'll do a git reset hard speed, and that should get rid of all those changes made by then I'll go into spin up Joe. I will search for myself. So I'm doing the thinking out process here. We're talking through doing files. Now, that. So just to show you where at. What we're doing, pulling the FXs seems to at least not error this time. Great. Let's see. Play. Interestingly, it's run the window slightly larger. I'll exit that. Have you got a fixed window size? Because that will suggest that I need to exit and bring it down, run it on my main screen, and change the screen that I'm sharing. Aha, yeah, so it's larger than this, my second monitor screen size. So that's why it's not running there. What I'll do is yes, and I will jump to that one, change that one. So just getting a reference there. That wouldn't work on there. That full screen. Aspect ratio. So what if I full screen up here? Looks like it will reset to full screen up. So we'll just do it full screen up. Okay. So that's at least running. I'll just check this. Yes, it works. That's good. Try again. Did something. Aha. I can blink my silver battery. Oh, okay, that's exciting. What's that? Because my camera is hiding. I didn't get close to me because line of sight has been disrupted by the tree. So that counts. Oh, I can drown. Fall through the world. And run forever. There's turtles all the way down. And I don't seem to have controls that work. I don't have those exits. Alt 4, that's killed. Okay, so just thinking of that. Okay. Player stats branch, master branch. Options. Yes, options aren't convenient. Oh, you lost my voice. Okay. Okay, so the resizing windows only worked when I could get to the top corner. It seemed to go full size in this window and then not allow me to get up here, but that's because this is so my secondary screen that I'm sharing is actually a drawing tablet. So it's the Cintiq drawing tablet. And so that's why it's such low resolution. It also means I have to make things big so you guys can see them and I can see them. But if I make it on this screen here, I can change which screen I'm screen sharing. And we can have a go at that. So if I just change that to that one, full screen it, start going. Okay, so who wants to talk me through what I should be doing? Who are you gonna set up this test? So somebody should be documenting, and you should give me instructions on what I should do. You might be playing with one break. I may indeed. Let's go and kill that, and go to get bash. And you were wanting me to check out because I had to do a hard reset because I'd opened it in the wrong engine. So that's why it's got to get reset minus hard to the head, which brings it back to the head. So what you want to do is get check out. Now you were suggesting a different branch, which was player stats. Goes currently on master branch. do the same thing. I think because I loaded it, Inship held up things and changed it, which is why it didn't update it. Suppose I could try another hard reset and then do a hard. Right, those stats are set up and updated and track it. Right, okay, so that means I can discard local changes and reload. Now re-importing all these assets. Ooh, okay. This is different. Maybe a bug. Still loading. I might have to quit and reload it. Be cool. Okay, let's try reloading. That's okay. This is useful playtesting mode. So green file. You don't have to create an export. You might have to create an export for other people. I've opened it in on my other monitor. So I give that I can't open file, splash screen. This file could have been moved. Okay. If this doesn't work, I'll do a git reset again, but now, and then do the control. Okay, so this is, it appears I've got something throwing stuff at me. Is this correct? Wait. That's not fair. I can't walk through the buildings, but their balls come through the buildings. Okay, am I doing some sort of catching? Well, there's a purple square. Do I have to keep my square between me and it? I appear not to have jump capabilities. Oh, and that's it. That's another one attacking me. So there's one chasing me and one's firing at me, and it's a big purple square, which apparently doesn't stop anything. Okay, so I jump over the chat window. Probably some import files messed up. We have a lot of issues with the .import files. Aha! Right. Okay, so if we look at that a second time, now what you'd want me to do is is this looking vaguely like you wanted it to look? Or am I
This is pretty much what we should have fixed, but we haven't. The mobs, so essentially the blue one represents the corrupt zombies.
right?
It's running obviously way too fast, while the small one is like the hounds that are supposed to be quick, but you can run away from them by holding shift. And the green one are some kind of acolytes that are shooting magic balls of corruption toward you.
Right. Do I have a stamina involved on shift? Not yet.
You don't, but you do have. You should have weapons if you press the 1 or 2 key.
I have.
Yeah. And then you can attack with your left click.
Right. Because I'm going to be facing. Am I doing any damage?
This should appear on the debug console, whether you're dealing damage or not.
Right. Do I have my debug console up there? I do, and I need to make the edit bigger. I'll move it between screens. Does that make it bigger? Not really. My current health is negative 83. Hey, you're dead. Hey, you're dead. I'm still dead. I've been dead for a while. I'm attacking. Player takes 3 damage. Player health. So I'm doing lots of attacking, but I don't seem to be stating that I'm doing damage to them. So, or can I not do damage once I'm dead?
Perhaps you can try on the purple box.
Oh, outside the area.
I do not think they despawn when they die, but
Right. Right, so it doesn't put in to them all. Okay, so what would you like me to run around and test?
that was like
showing what you. This is showing what you currently got.
yeah, but also we would like some feedback on how we would balance the monsters. Like imagine you had 10 monsters chasing after you.
Mm-hmm.
Like how fast would they be moving, or how fast can you move in order to escape them?
Okay, so for a start, if there's going to be a sprint and a walk, there has to be some cost difference between them, right? Because otherwise, you're just requiring me to hold my finger down and sprint. So you need to find a way that either the sprint uses stamina and the walk doesn't. And that there's, when I run out of stamina, I can only walk, so I then have to use one strategically. Or just make the player faster the whole time. And in terms of balancing, there are lots of games that have this kind of mob attack, and they'll follow you in interesting ways. And I could see how you could kind of use terrain like I've just done now to go. Oh, the other one's been able to walk up over the bridge. So you can kind of use the bridge and the terrain to try and avoid and get them trapped so they can't keep following you. So there are interesting. So there are ways that you can balance that. Usually, it's just a matter of balancing the attack power with some sort of stamina issue, so I can't just constantly attack. And manage my ability to kite by either having new enemies come from behind me or having enemies that do specific things that prevent that sort of kiting. So I can get them to fall off into nothingness. So do they respawn when they've fallen off into nothingness?
No, that's they have those other 3 monsters, and if you manage to pull them off the cliff, then they are forever dead.
All right. Haha. So yeah, in terms of balancing, you tend to only get there once you've got a system where you've got the player with weapons that it can attack the enemies. You then spawn the appropriate number of enemies. You might make them faster to put the pressure on the player as you go up in waves if you're going a wave shooter. So usually those are parameters, and then you just adjust how much they increase their speed by, how much they swarm the player by, how much they appear all around the player, just rather than just sort of on one side. Because if they all appear on one side of the player, then I can generally try and kite around them and keep away. But if some of them come from behind me, then my standard kiting behavior, I have to adapt to the fact that I'm going to be caught between two armies. You also have to balance it. Do you have a ranged weapon? Does that have ammo that is used up? Those sorts of things. So balancing the speed of the enemy, you kind of just have to work it out based on the speed of, based on how people play test it. And if they're able to control the player, and if it looks too easy, then you make the player slower and the enemies faster or stronger, and so yeah, you make those changes and you try to. So I was so this now I'm having to hold my finger on shift so that I can run at a reasonable speed. The animation, it kind of takes quite a long time for that particular animation to start the sword attack. So usually with animations, what you try and do is you have the click gets the attack happening really fast, and then you can have a long follow through, which is part of the cooldown. So kind of a really quick slash in and then big flourish out is generally what we do. Because I don't want those 1, 2, 3 frames before the sword hits the opponent. I kind of want one frame. I know it's not how it actually works, but it's how people want it to work. So the sword, the other. So is this some sort of wand, magic wand?
That's supposed to be the Gloomfire.
Ah.
So when we go to the dark forest, it's pretty dark, so you can use the torch to lit up the way and also defeat the boss.
Right. Okay. Yep. No, that's cool. And if I fall off the edge, I fall infinitely.
Yeah.
Yep. And you haven't implemented escape as a game exit, or an exit menu. So that's a quality of life thing you should probably do. So if I do Alt 4, okay. So I'm great. You've got a character. It's moving around, which is great. There is an attack. There's an attack animation. You have multiple enemies. The enemies have different characteristics. Some of them are ranged weapons. Some are charging me. So yeah, you've got quite a long way along having a game that is a wave. Mobs, and you've got a lighting thing that you do for the Dark Forest. So yeah, no, there's good stuff there. I suppose look at other games that have kiting and work out how you balance those. Would be my feedback. And don't worry about balancing the speeds of the enemies until after you've got more of the combat playability done, because then you can start changing those to fit the player's capabilities. So,
Thank you.
In terms of issues to add for your Git repo, issue 1, I would say change attack animations so the sword is doing damage faster, visually doing damage faster. Work out how to make run and walk strategically relevant. So this may be by adding a stamina component, which would make me balance my running and my walking. Add the quality of life at pressing escape to exit that menu. Have the enemies either avoid falling off or respawn when they fall off. Or maybe that's a tactic you want the player to try and use. And so there are 10 respawns and that enemy is dead. So you can manage the respawning as enemies fall off. What other things would I do from that playtest? You see, I initially thought the black square was my friend because it rushed over to me and I was able to keep the other enemy away using it. But if it's attacking me and causing me damage, then it's not. So you could look at. I saw that the green enemy was shooting through the building, so you probably want to make sure its bullets collide with objects so I can hide behind things. And yeah, so we could start with some of those and we can do more in the next playtest. Okay, so let's jump to the group head. They sent me the disk runner haven't sent me an updated link. Jonah, do you have an updated
link? Where do you want it? I sent it on Outlook, but
what you sent was a link to my file.
Oh wait, did I pick the wrong one?
Yeah, you pasted the wrong thing. So I need you.
Oh
to,
wait.
Yeah, it was just paste it. I sent to the right place, but you just paste it. So it's fine. It's just, I do it all the time. So
oh, that's I can just send it on the voice chat. It's probably easier.
Oh yeah, this is just easy. So if I jump over to chat there, you guys have me over here. Code and close. Yes. Code. And save that. Get. So I'm using Visual Studio Code. We'll download it and we'll clone it, and then I can open it. Just open here, code in Greenfire. That's now opened it, and I'll select the correct GitHub executable this time. So I'll go to my C folder, go program files, where I put all my Godot executables, and it's 4.3 mono, which is the one that allows us to execute. Now spinning up Godot. That's the Greenfire. Close that. See if this actually spins up the Godot version. So if I press that, go into it. That one. Godot will start up. And import. Spin, spin, spin. We're gonna, for some reason, every file directory is really not wanting to start up. Is it time to kill it and restart? try it again. Sometimes they just get stuck. Okay, I'll just kill that one because that one really doesn't like them. And I'll spin it up directly from the executable, from the domain. So if I look at scene,
Yeah, you have to go to scenes,
which
and
scene?
then okay, this
Disk.
does not look correct.
Am I? So do you need me in another branch?
Yeah. Oh, you're a main.
I will be.
Yeah, I need you to be in the dev branch.
Okay. So if we go. Main, so it's get out div.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I will reopen it. It is best to close Godot when you do that sort of thing because otherwise Godot will hold open files and try. Okay, so let's go here.
Yeah, now it's scenes, levels, and play test level.
Scene level play test. Okay, here's the loaded.
Okay, that's not the correct level.
Okay. Okay, here are we? Where? Open scene. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Double clicking seems to not open the scene, so I have to right click and tell it explicitly open the scene. Ah. Okay.
Okay.
And then I should. Where is my?
You could use the top right corner. There is the run current scene. To the right of the play button. The first one that's not grayed out.
Right. Yep. Run current scene. I've just changed that to the main scene, but yes, that's run current scene. Ha!
Yeah.
Woo! Jumping, running. Aha! So it doesn't scale. Right, boom, boom. Okay, do I have? I don't have double jumping. Okay, so A and D, that's good. Hold right mouse to aim. Ooh. And aiming. Then fire with left mouse, aim at the switch, and fire. Whoop. And then turns it off. Ha. Do I just leave it there, firing away?
You can recall the disk by clicking aim again.
Oh, cool. Okay, sweet. Torch ignites the disk. So when I go like that, I now get a ignited torch. and burning the disc. Spread plant. If I aim and click, it's not burning now. So it only burns while it's been having been ignited. Pushable lock. What? So I'm currently just sort of doing the whole. Okay, so jump is also related to how long I press the button. So pushable block. Pushable with the disc. No. Push. How do I push the block? Is there another key here that I'm not understanding?
No, you have to walk into it. It's just like a static tile in front of it, so you can't push it into the wall.
All right.
Yeah, it was a kind of bad like fail safe.
Oh. So when I stand on top of it, it's. Oh, and I'm now constantly spinning and pushing, and it's exciting.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, there are some animations missing, so the animation tree just kind of breaks sometimes if you're not like in the air for long enough.
All right. That's interesting that the grabbing and following, it seems to kind of be sticky. And you're right. Getting on the other side of it was a challenge because I had to get up on this wee thing. So that might be better if this wee thing was a wee ledge, a whole ledge rather than just a circle. So if you make that a ledge so it can't be pushed any further and I can stand on the ledge and then push it, that would be better. Because otherwise I have to jump onto the wee dot and then push. If I can just stand anywhere on that side of it, then that would work. Okay, so playtesting, and I'm going to try and make this jump, and yay. I'm sometimes not good at these. Okay, press E to interact with the switch. E. Yep. Okay, so, and I can't get through there. So I must interact with it. And can I get, no, I can't get up through, I can't get out there, so I'm going to have to interact with that to turn it. Okay, maybe there's ignited thing there. Let's see if I fire stuff. Does it do anything there? Nope. Maybe if I jump up here, I can aim. And then, nope, that does nothing. Assuming if I interact with that one, so if I interact with that one, I get it to do that. But I still can't jump up. It looks like there should be something different here because of that change in the stuff in the okay, that's interesting. It flies with something there that isn't there.
Yeah, that's just it just kind of bugs out a little.
Okay, that's not actually important.
Do you want a hint, or do you want to try a little bit more?
Hit the hook, grapple, jump in. Can I get up further? There doesn't appear to be a way I can jump up to here to get to that one. It doesn't appear to be a way I can get through this.
Sorry. Outside perspective, from what I've seen so far, it seems that this may also be able to switch the switches, which might help.
So what? You can switch the disc. Maybe this thing I can push. You reckon I could drag that over here? I'm not sure how to get it onto the ramp. Okay, I need a hint. How can I? What can I do?
Yeah, you can switch the doors while shooting the disc through. So the whole point is that you have to stand up on the little ledge, and you have to shoot the disc forwards.
So that if so standing here, aiming, and like that. Aha. And have to time it so. Nope. Yeah. Alright, that's not. I haven't got it right there. Okay. Right. Yeah, might be. I don't think that one was being changed by the disc. So this one isn't changed by the disc, but that one is changed by the disc.
Yeah, it was because of a problem we had. If you stood there and shot the disc towards the 3 doors, then the disc would instantly hit the switch that you were on.
Yeah, so if they operate in different ways, it would be good if they looked different, right? So what you do, you'd clearly make that visual distinction, because I didn't think the disc would operate on that because I tested on this one and it didn't work, so I assumed it wouldn't work on that one. If you said if this had text hit with disc, then I would have known that I'm supposed to try and hit that with the disc. So I would probably have put that in here in the first puzzle when I'm trying to do that sort of thing, right? Then at least I would have been trying to get the disc, and then I might have worked out I've got to press this in sequences. So yeah. So the disc. So here I've got to aim. Okay, my disc has gone somewhere off into the massive distance, and it's going to take a long time to come back.
Yeah, where has it gone?
Oh, there. It's gone that way. It must have bounced up somewhere up top, and so it was a long way away. And so how do I get it to go off there? Bounce back. So I'm assuming it should come back here and burn those. Because so hook. Aha. Right. So maybe if I hook, so I grapple to there, hook, and then swing. Oh. Maybe I go right near the top. Oh. Okay. I can't. It does grab me by the bottom of the thing. Actually, I'm going to go that way. I may go this way, go like that, and then aha, right. Just have to get my jumping timing right, and then fire that, and fire that, and then pull down, pull that over here, go there, fire, and hope. Timing wrong. And I'm trying to jump at the right timing to get it to jump.
I have increased the generosity timer on it, so you can basically hold space throughout the entire travel. You don't need to time it at the very end.
Okay. And then I somehow have to get around this. That's another grapple. And then I can enter that one. Thank you for playing. Okay. So yeah, the puzzle was probably I didn't quite have enough information for me to actually work it out what to do. Someone else said I think did work it out, and I didn't quite understand what they were saying. But yep, and the jumping off, yes, pressing at any moment during that thing, and then also getting the direction coming off the swing is all relatively challenging. But I know this is just a demo level to show off the different things. So you'd probably build up the elements in a slightly different way in a final version. And I can see why a double jump would be a bad idea. I think okay. So there's some quality of life fixes. You could fix this constant spinning. Would be a good thing to fix. I was finding, like, as I said, this should be a ledge rather than a ball. It's a bit confusing because the pushable block, because there's no simple way to push it, I didn't know what I had to do to push it. I didn't know where it was there. I didn't know if I was supposed to stand next to it or any of those sort of things. So there's that. And also it seems to jump to be awfully, like, sticky once you're touching it. When does it grip? So
it's when you're standing next to it and then turning around because the animation changes and it like sticks a little bit out.
Right. I'm just like so. Oh, right, it sticks the leg out and it grabs it because it's sticking its leg out. All right, so it's supposed to be that, but it's not supposed to be kind of dragging like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a bug. That's okay. I can cope with bugs. Also, on top, I assume that's because again it crouches a little bit when it tries to run.
No,
Yeah.
it's actually just because the entire box is like it just detects if the player is colliding with it and then pushes it.
Right.
And so,
in the direction the player is moving.
Yeah.
It makes it very interesting to sort of surf standing on top of it. You might want to keep that as a possibility that it's, you can surf blocks, which could be an interest, and pull blocks. You could decide to make the other feature, right? And it's something players could use. I think all the rest of the things seemed reasonably good. There definitely is some part of the game. I know I'd like to see some fleshed out ideas of some levels. You've got some examples of how you can make tricks there, and you'll make a level. You also have to add some things like scores and those sort of things. You don't have escape being something I can press to escape out of the game. I would, in issues, I'd want to see. Well, I mean, maybe there's not really a timer needed because you're just trying to get to the end, and you don't necessarily have to have a number of lives or any of those sort of things for die. So usually we do something to have some sort of punishment for dying, so that I can't throw myself off cliffs all the time. The animation for the grappling hook, of course, needs to be updated. I might make the burst grappling hook easy to use. Right, so introduce the grappling hook as where almost any successful connection to it will achieve the goal. Right, so it's just making bits of it simpler. But yeah, no, that's got the start to the game. I can see what you're trying to do. And there's plenty of puzzles you can do with pulling and pushing the blocks. Plenty of puzzles you can do with sliding stuff. Plenty of these marker trigger blocks with your disc. There's something a bit odd that I was having when it. Okay, so why does it do that kind of curved shape? Is that because it's moving the mouse to a set distance away or something?
Yeah, it's It is because it's moving. It's aiming off the way you put the mouse, and because the camera is changing, I believe it's because it's aiming from the player. So when it's moving the camera to the side, but then the position relative to the player kind of changes a little.
Oh, okay. So because the player sprite has become wider, the center of the player sprite has become the player sprite plus the disc.
No, what it actually is, it's a custom. Usually when we play tested, we did not have it in big picture mode, like with the entire like full screen.
All right.
So usually then we used to have like I added that mechanic so you could like aim and control, see where you're going to aim it, and like get a like lead on where it's gonna
Oh,
go.
okay. So that's a shift to the lead. It's just that because when I click, it curves the like here.
Yeah, I tried adding like damping, but it doesn't work as well because I also later added like a slowdown while aiming. So it's usually a lot faster damp, like so it moves a lot faster. But because time slows down, it goes slow again.
Okay. Well, it's just that it's changing angle when I do that because it's just see about mouse there and it changes angle very. Okay, so sometimes that's theoretically straight. That seems straight. That seems straight. Why was it changing angle? Because it seems to like there. It was okay. I was trying to work out why. All right, so the mouse in relation to where the mouse is compared to the player, that mouse is changing its relationship to the player, and that's why it curved. It's just it felt like it was curving quite a bit sometimes. Press the mouse without press the button without doing anything with the mouse, and the pointer would be curving down or curving up.
Yeah, it's we're like debating actually like removing it because it messes with the aim, and that's not very intended. Like when aiming, it shouldn't change the aim because it changes the camera.
Yeah, that's what I find a bit. Oh, that's disturbing. It's kind of throwing me around. Okay.
Yeah. So you are. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, yeah. So no, that's. I mean, yeah, you've got quite a lot of an interaction going. It'd be great to have things to pick up, coins to collect, those sort of things for tasks or points or intermediate progress or waypoints so that I know how far through the level I am. Those sort of things would be great to add. But yeah, no, you've got some good mechanics already in there. So I mean, adding and polishing and experimenting with some of those things is going to be good for the rest of the trimester. So that's looking good.
I am kind of curious whether you think we should lean more into like which of these mechanics we should lean more into. If we should lean more into like pure just platforming mechanics, like the pushable blocks don't really have any synergy with the disc. So like if we should lean more towards just general platforming mechanics like those, or if we should try more grappling hooks and elemental effects and stuff that coincides more with the disc.
I would probably lean into the disc theme and make more things related to the disc and make the disc grabbing the things we do. Because for example, with a pushable block, I thought maybe I can push it with my disc, right? And so if you have that disc bouncing back and forth like we had, if I was able to grab this, you'd have to work out how to deal with the pulling of it, but so if I fire my disc here, how to do it. So that bouncing, each time it bounces, it could push the disc, push the box. So you could have box push mechanism, but it would be box pushed by the disc hitting it.
Excuse me.
Right, so that would be an interesting thing. So I can't push things, but my disc can push things.
I would also consider just letting you the player do both too.
You could also make the player push it, but having the disc push it means that the disc is being involved, can be involved in those kind of push puzzles as well.
Yeah, I do think, especially on the second to last puzzle with the door switching and stuff, I thought like, well, it was also just the difficulty in communicating the difference between the levers and stuff, but I also do think, yeah, I think it's a good idea to have the disc interact with the box. Just have the disc interact with everything, because the first instinct of the player should be to, oh, there is something I don't know what it does. Let's try the disc.
Yeah. So that's what I think. Yeah, if you can make the disc sort of more active than just like that, where it just bounces off passively. If it's something movable, then the disc can move it, and if it's something clickable, the disc can click it, and so that kind of it's my home away from home. And what would be neat to do, maybe, and I don't know if this would fit or is sensible to do, but if I could press like Q or something as another control key and lock the camera on the disc, so I could throw the disc through the level to see what's coming and jump the camera and sort of ride the disc through parts of the level, or ride the disc into the distance for a while, and then when I hit aim, I would ride the disc back to myself. Right, so I can kind of use the disc as an observer mode to see things, or work out what's on the other side of things that I can't get my player to, or something. Right, so or there's a black area and I have to see beyond it, and there's a thing to fire at that's way over there, and I can't see it, but I can camera mode over there or something. Right, so there's that, like there's something, a long range thing that could be quite fun to jump onto the disc visually. And you can practice it this way. If you hold down Q, your camera is just locked on the disc, and the disc stays in the center as the world wobbles back and forth, kind of thing. Yep, no, cool. That would be great. Okay, so thank you both for those games. Hopefully that's some interesting, playful feedback. If you write those up, that'll be great. Do you have other questions for me?
Not that I can think of.
All good. I'm very pleased to have seen 2 of 6, so that's all good. 2 of 7. Hopefully we'll see more next week. And I'll send an email getting you guys to vote on the lecture thing. I inserted playtesting, but we've only got a few votes for the next lecture, so I'll try and work out what's a good lecture to come up next. Cool. Okay. Well, it's 11:15, so I need to get my kids into bed because they've got school in the morning. And I will chat to you guys later. Thank you so much. Okay.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.